So what I am going to present is a study which I have done, which is on aggressive empowered women, which I would like to present here. The study which was done by my previous presenter, it's somewhat related, not exactly related, but it also talks about the narratives of the women, the stories of those women who have transformed their lives from aggression to empowerment. And this is what is all about. I have used a grounded theory methodology for this, and I've come up with a qualitative approach. This is what I'm going to talk about in the end also, I'll try to. But it talks about the methodology which I have adopted. Basically, this is grounded theory methodology which I use to capture the essence of their lives and how they transform themselves from aggression to empowerment. And empowerment, I've taken aggression and empowerment as both sides of the same coin related to eros and thanatos of riot. So this is how we go about it. We try to generate the data by using case studies and asking questions, writing memos, coming up with categories. I'm not going into detail of the methodology, but yes, I'd like to give a brief thing about how I started with it. I selected the women. It was a purposing sampling, and I selected 6 women whom I have studied over the period of 2 to 3 years. And I initiated the research by building rapport with them, visiting them, talking to them, starting the conversations. There were times when we encountered a lot of plateaus, my moment of awakening, and then we came to the codes and memos. This is how it is, how we come up with grounded theory methodology. As I said, I'm not going into detail of it because I want to talk about what the women went through and how they transformed their lives. So, as I said, the study was done on 6 women, and I have given them different names like strength, compassion, and stuff like that, because they embodied that thing. They were all those women were in the process of getting empowered, but they went through a very, very traumatic life, because of which they were filled with a lot of aggression into them. Aggression which was external as well as internalized into themselves, because two of them, in fact, tried to even commit suicide because of the abuse, the trauma which they were going through. One of the women was abused, beaten up, and thrown into a bag on a street. And later on, she was by the husband. Later on, she was found by others, the neighbors, who took her to a hospital. She recovered, and now she is helping many such women to build their lives. So instead of using their aggression as a negative thing, they use their aggression as a tool to empower themselves. The first thing which they said out of the codes and the memos which I came up was accepting the self. The first step which the women took, one of the women was working with HIV/AIDS patients. One of the women was sold into a brothel and she came out, and now she's helping many such women to come out of. She's based out of Mumbai. So the first thing which led to the empowerment journey was accepting their weaknesses and shortcomings, discovering what it is and what are they encountering, and confronting their fears, their insecurity, their low self-esteem, their self-doubts, wherein they started asking themselves what is the purpose of their existence. These women were ranged from being a psychologist to a housewife to a doctor to a brothel prostitute to someone who was beaten up. And these are the stories of these women. They went into depression and self-pity initially. They felt worthless. As I said, one of them wrote in that codes, I felt like a cattle who was used just to bear kids and work at home with no identity, because I was beaten, abused. They were filled with anger, remorse, but gradually, by accepting these shortcomings and problems, they started searching for meaning of their life, reflecting upon their circumstances. And mind you, this is some of things that's happened also while we were doing the studies. While doing this, it was more of a catharsis. They realized their flaws, their awakening, what they want to do. The next thing which came was realizing their strengths. Once they realized what are their shortcomings, they started to locate their problems. They also shifted to what they have, what they want to do. They delved into themselves, introspection. They felt strong. One of the women whom I interacted with, after 10 years of marriage and 2 kids, the husband came out of the closet as homosexual. And then she helped husband come out of the closet and accept his relationship with his partner and end this abusive marriage. Then she started her own business at the age of 38. And now she is giving training. She started a business of soft toys. Now she's giving training to numerous girls, has opened a business and helping other women. So they realize their strengths in the time of crisis. So that's what they said, that the willpower was always within us. When the survival was threatened, the willpower developed as a self-preservation strategy. We talked at length about it. It was with most of them that when they were literally beaten to the ground, they stood up. So these are the narratives these points came up, that they realized their strengths, their character, their values, their courage, resilience, zeal to live life, never say attitude, kept them alive and focused toward their goals. They also had this aha moment because they never knew how good they are. But then again, they gave me certain thoughts. And I've written a book on it, on grounded theory methodology, empowerment, aggression to empowerment. And wherein I've talked in detail about it because I had limited time. So I haven't gone into the details of it, but they got their insight into their qualities, their unique traits, what all they can do. Then they started changing their self. After the awareness and the knowledge about their weakness and strength came in, these women started to work on themselves consciously and with efforts. So they use their aggression as a tool, as a channelizing energy to change their selves, to come out of their abusive, traumatic lives and build a life of their own. And not only build a life of their own, but help others, women and men both, to build their lives. The overt changes came with the deeper level changes. They gained confidence, raised their esteem, came out of their self-pity, feelings of hatred, disgust, and loneliness. Most of the 2 or 3 of women who were victim of severe sexual abuse, they had very, very low self-esteem and they hated themselves, especially the woman who was working in the brothel earlier. She used to hate herself, but then that hatred, that aggression, she used that as energy to harness her own strength and come out. They started learning new skills, working, and as the success came, the attitude of the people around them changed. Their mindsets changed. They started meeting people, going out, became more wiser. And their frustration, helplessness was somewhat pacified because of the success, the positive result which started coming. Ultimately, they were accepted by their people, the friends, society, family. And one of the most important thing which came out with this study, which I did using this grounded theory methodology, was that they all had faith ultimately in themselves and higher self, which helped them a lot to come out of it. They could endure and pass through all the pain because they believed on themselves, on Almighty God, and had a trust that one day they are going to make things better. The hope, faith. They could keep their balance intact because of that, because of the unconditional faith in their own abilities and higher self, that they sail through these hardships. The important aspect which also came through talking to them, going through their diaries, going to the people around them, that is how the grounded theory methodology worked, the research, was that they always fought towards the injustice done to them and also they raised their voice about for others. If they saw other men or women going through that, they raised their voice. They felt that they have to fight it out. They refused to take things silently. They didn't succumb to the atrocities done to them. They didn't accept them as their destinies. They reacted, they revolted, they fought. They fought for themselves. They stood for themselves and also for others. Next important aspect which came out of it was that they sought support from the family and society. Initially, support was not there, much support. But gradually, they could gather support from their parents, children, even children who were against their mothers. They started supporting. They drew inspiration from them, and also they reached out to the society at large, to the friends, neighbors, social groups. So this also gives a picture that a woman has to need support. We all have to work together, supporting each other if they want to come out of the trauma or abuse or life which is not good. And if we want to build our own life, we need to support each other. And we need social groups, NGOs, so that we can build a society, a supporting society, a support structure. During their problems, they sought support from them and they climbed the ladder to the success or empowerment. Empowerment, as I said, is still a journey. We all go through it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes we go down, but again we get up and we do go about it. Overcoming obstacles. They were determined to overcome the obstacles in their life. These are all categories which I'm talking about, which have come through grounded theory methodologies and which have been made by the data which I have generated from these women. I've consolidated them and have sorted them into categories. And these categories are like narratives of what these women have given, that how they transform themselves from being aggressive women toward empowered women. So these are the things, this is the path they have taken. So changing the self, seeking support, overcoming obstacles which came into their life. They survive all the odds but kept the spirit to live a life. They survived the hopelessness, helplessness. So it's okay. That is one of the interactions which I was doing with a psychologist who tried to commit suicide because of the problems in her life. And she gave a very good statement. She said, it's okay if we feel hopeless and helpless at some point of life or other. But what is not okay is that we continue to live with it. We need to come out of it. We need to overcome all these problems and obstacles. And in overcoming, we do need support. If you are all alone, it is difficult. So there's nothing wrong in asking for help, asking for support, and going out. And to keep a resilient attitude, positive attitude towards life, towards work, and be open to learning, and optimistic outlook. Pushing the boundaries. They themselves have caged themselves into their boundaries, that this is not going to work out and we are helpless. Then gradually they realized that they have to break their chains. They have to push their boundaries. There were no boundaries, physical boundaries. These were all mental, emotional boundaries which they have made in their mind. They have to go out. They have to take a job. They have to learn the skill. They have to end this cycle of trauma, abuse, pain. They have to. And education emerged as the topmost, foremost thing. Everyone said that the most important thing was education. Education, whether it's formal college, school degree, or informal education, non-formal education, be it from religious scriptures or from books or anywhere, which help them learn skills, gather their strength, come out. They mustered courage to step out of their self-imposed exile, gain independence, meet people, and push their existed abilities to gain empowerment and walking the path to success. Their education and their work, being their financially independent, being educated, was the most important step in their path to empowerment. The ability to take their decisions. How do we define empowerment? I talked to them. This is what is there, quote unquote. They said the ability to take decisions on their own regarding their lives, courage to stand up, start their life afresh, confidence, being able to metamorphose into from a nervous, helpless woman to a spirited, successful woman is their biggest achievement and success. Successful doesn't mean climbing the ladders of corporate. That was the biggest success for them if they could take their own decision. If the woman could say no to the abusive husband, a sexually abusive husband, or a woman who could tell the homosexual husband to stop this marriage, come out of the closet and let him live. And she married again to a man and she's now happy to go. So coming out of that kind of thing, coming out of a brothel, running out, living here and there somehow, fighting for the justice, living in a hospital for 6 months, recovering, and then coming out and filing a case on the abusive husband and son who killed that woman. That is success. That is their journey of empowerment. And being informed, being educated, being skilled, having the courage to stand for their own rights. This is what there has been, their path has been. Reaching out to others. After they gained something or they started, most of them said that we started helping others. We didn't keep our empowerment to ourselves, but we used that because we could empathize, we could relate, we could feel. So we help others, whether it was as small as giving emotional support or writing applications or showing them the path or training the girls in getting jobs or skills. It was their way of returning to society, helping others, reaching out to others made them more satisfied and empowered in return. And most important, as I said, I'll repeat again, that they give credit to learning and education, whether it was acquired through formal doors like school, college, or from elders, people around them, whatever. They said that the most important thing was education. Their education helped them in knowing themselves to assess their situation and position. Their education, the readings help them realize that yes, they are living a life which is not good. Most of the times, women don't even realize that they are victim of abuse or violence, or verbal violence. Some of the 2 or 3 of the women, they said that we thought it's just normal if the husband comes home and shouts at us, or if the mother-in-law is saying something. No, it has to stop somewhere. The education gave them the ability to think, rationalize, introspect, understand, and take decisions for their life, what they want to do. It gave them the courage to stand up for their rights, to learn skills, and it all came through education. So the education, so the transformation of aggression to empowerment has taken through education. Education has been the channel which has taken the women from the state of aggression, helplessness to empowerment. The change in their personality, the confidence came from the skills they learned when they knew that you can come face the society, do something, contribute, be financially independent, take care of themselves and their families. Their strength was their education. They achieved victory over their insecurities, fears, control their anger through education and wisdom, which acquired over a period of life. So as one of the participants said, the eldest one, life has been the biggest educator. So this theory which came after the grounded theory was the transcending the aggressive self to impart self through educations. So this research I had done on the 6 women, as I said, and I came up with a theory model, general aggression model in education, because I'm a professor of education, currently as a director at School of Education, GITAM University Visakhapatnam. So I take it as an education view also, that the education and curriculum makers can use the game to build a curriculum over which can have the effect on the thinking and the behavior patterns, so that children learn to control their anger and use it as a tool to empower themselves. And I'm not going much about it, but this narratives of the women have taught me, have made me more stronger, empowered, and less judgmental. So this study, which was done using qualitative approach and grounded theory methodology, involved talking to these 6 women over a period of 3 years, talking to them, talking to the co-passengers in the journey. That means the people related to them, reading their diaries, letters, talking to them over phone, personally, and how they transform their life from being victim and abuse victims to empowered women. And all of them are now creating jobs for others, being emotional support to other women, and leading them to emancipation. That's mine. Thank you.